How's your day going?
It's pretty good. How about your guys's?
Pretty
Yeah,
good.
not too bad. Yeah. Busy, but getting through it.
Yeah, I had a couple sells on some of my WNBA games, but other than that,
It's not
yeah,
that'll put you in a bad mood for the day.
yeah. I mean, I don't send out enough stuff to be like too many units to where it's like, oh shoot, anything ever is like too bad of an issue. But yeah, I mean, basically just net even on the month ish kind of. But yeah, no, after the WNBA, I swear, it's the most unpredictable sport. It's so funny. Like they'll be like going crazy, and then it's like, oh, they're gonna get 12 minutes this game, and then they're done.
Do you like betting this time of year with WNBA and MLB? Because I feel
I
like people
honestly,
like love MLB, high volume, all that stuff, and some people just like
I
don't put.
absolutely hate it. But I mean, my favorite sport to bet on is NFL, just because I like enjoy watching it too. But like NBA was my best month. Like the month of May was my best month with like the playoffs and that kind of stuff. But like to watch and like actually bet on would probably be NFL. But then like MLB and like WNBA is like the bridge and stuff. And like obviously like I told you guys I sell picks and stuff. So it's like I'm not gonna just like take the 3 months off. And I think so. Last year was my first time ever betting on it, but I mean, I made money doing it. Like, it was not much, maybe like 5, 6 units a month max, but I made money doing it. So I was like, you know what, I'll try it again. But I did better. Not like last month, I think it was like almost like around 3 units profit, which was really not like, that's not a good month for me. But I think the time before that, it was like the month before that, it was like maybe 8-ish, which was my best. Like, that was probably the equivalent. Like, the amount of money I made that month was the equivalent of what I made the entire WNBA season last year. So I was like, all right, we'll stick with it for now, and we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Do you think that it's actually kind of interesting though. Do you think that the unpredictability of the WNBA makes it like easier to be
I think
profitable? Because I would feel like it would be the opposite.
I think it kind of depends. You kind of have to like know how the players work. So like for example, like there's people like Natasha Howard. So I don't know if you know anything like about like I mean probably the Fever from like Caitlin Clark. Like I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
how much
yeah.
you're on those, but like for example, like Natasha Howard, like we all joke in my Discord, oh shoot, like she's gambling like for sure because she'll go and like she'll make sure to have like these crazy high games, and then she'll like just like she'll go from 30 minutes one game to 12 the next game, and then she'll like do nothing that game. She'll get like I think I remember I bet on her because she had like a really like I thought she had a really good matchup, and she got pulled within 2 minutes of the first quarter, and then played 12 minutes total in the entire game, and ended with 0 points. And I was like, what are we supposed to do in this situation? And then like the next game, it was like around the same thing, and then today it was like right back to 33 minutes or whatever it was. It's like she has to be gambling because it's like she just sits out casually for a couple games and then nothing else.
And it has nothing to do with injury. She's literally just like
No,
sitting out randomly.
it's like they I think they claim it's like, oh, it's like the matchup and stuff, but it's like I think it was like the stats was, it was like something with like her being at the rim is like most of her shots, and like that's where like the dead last against that position, like, and she had been like doing pretty well. So I was like, okay, I think this is pretty decent value on this line. Like it's not too high. But then I mean, I guess even 0.5 points would have been too high. So
He has to do that insider gambling to make up for the low WNBA salaries right
yeah,
now.
I
That needs to change.
was like, dang, she made her whole salary on this one game.
That's
Before we get
hilarious.
too much deeper into things, why don't you give the audience a quick like intro about yourself, how you got started on TikTok and other platforms, and what you really focus on?
Okay, so on TikTok, this is where I first started my channel. So I'm known as the betting formula or TV formula sports. I started betting probably about 2-ish years ago. It was like probably shortly after I turned 18, I'd say. Maybe it was 19. No, it was probably shortly after I turned 19. I always watched a lot of sports um, later teenage years, not a ton when I was growing up, because my family like we're Dolphins fans, kind of, but like they're more Gators fans than anything else, but like not really big into watching sports. So kind of got those betting things on my page and started being like, oh, maybe I'll try. Like I enjoy watching sports, so I started doing that. Sucked. I was terrible at the beginning. I was like absolutely terrible. But what's funny is like the whole thing that people talk about is like, oh, unit size this, unit size that. I think from the beginning I was always unit sizing without realizing it because I was doing like $5 on a bet there here and there, but like it was like so dumb. It was like purely emotional, just betting on random stuff, and then kind of fell into the trap of the whole like what you guys do where you like track the people, and I was like I fell into a couple of those, which I don't really seem to find myself very vulnerable to that normally, but I somehow they marketed me and they were able to get me. And then I eventually, left all of those and then just started betting on my own. And I was like, just kind of managed it like, because like I would be like, I'm mad if I lose $20, in which I started as unit size like $5 and built it up through past years. So now it's around 20, and then it kind of depends. Like straights, I'll maybe do 1 unit on if I'm doing a parlay with like player props, because I do, like in Florida, like I live in Florida, so we have Hard Rock Bet, and then everything else is banned, or it's like social sports books, which would be like you have a minus 140 bet that's on Hard Rock for minus 110, so it's not really worth it to do anywhere else. But so started betting on my own, and then I was kind of like, I had Picket, which is kind of what I based my whole marketing strategy off of, because it's like I feel like I'm one of the only ones who will post a Picket, and there are others out there. And if someone posts a Picket and it's like their legit account, like I give them all respect. Like I'd be willing to pay for their picks too. Like they should be allowed to sell picks if you can prove that. So I feel like most of my audience tends to be kind of like people who like that transparency whole aspect, which is kind of why I liked you guys in the beginning. I was like, dang, like this is what we needed the whole time. But yeah, so started betting on my own, how to pick it, and I just kind of was like, I'm making money, especially like the NFL. Like that was when I was making probably the most amount of money. And then I was like, you know what? These people are posting their picks, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll try it. So I started like posting it. It was really slow for about a year. I was like on and off about posting. And then I think there was 2 videos of mine that actually like I started like they picked up traction, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna like push for this more. I'm gonna actually try. So I think it was during the NBA playoffs when I like started actually picking up like more followers on TikTok, and I bet Jamal Murray's under in Game 7 against OKC, and he had like 8 points. It was like the funniest thing, because it was like that, like that's that's how you kind of get the clickbait, I guess, is like people being like, no, that's a terrible bet. Why would you ever bet Jamal Murray under and
Minutes, yeah.
I was like, no, his like I feel like his line's pretty inflated. Like I think there's value on the under, and obviously the under hit. And then like I think there was Derek White when it was after Jason Tatum got injured, bet on Derek White to go under after his like 30-point game or something. And I was like, it's so funny because the videos blow up because people are like, you're an idiot. Like why would you ever bet on that? And then he had like 8 points or something stupid. And I was like, all right, well, you know what? This is how I'm getting my popularity. It's like I'm generally find value in betting the lines that are too inflated because the public bets on a certain side or something for whatever emotional reason. So sometimes that's kind of how I feel like I built up more of a following in the past couple of months, because I was probably under 1,000 followers for a year, and then now I'm up to like 3,000 ish within the past like 2 or 3 months. So I'm definitely gained a lot of traction from that. But that's probably the long overview as to my kind of story, because it's like I definitely fell into some of the things I know you guys talk about a lot. And like one of the main people I know I respect on the platform is like Honest Bets, like that you guys do. And I was like, all right, I can get behind this. Like totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely super interesting. And I think a lot of people are probably curious, and we are obviously too, but what do you use like a model Excel, or your bets mostly based off like just like feel and stuff?
So I would say I mean, I guess it's my personal opinion is like, because there's so many people out there like I have a model that's like unmatched, is the best model out there. It's like there's a multi-billion-dollar industry designed to beat you, so they're going to be smarter than you. Like I'm sure, like maybe there's people out there who can make models far smarter than me, and I know I can't. But what I feel like I generally had always done is you can see, like I feel like you can see what the books are pushing for, because like obviously there's the whole fade the public thing, you'll make money. That's not entirely true, because you can fade the public all you want. It's like you have to be like correct, you have to like choose when to fade the public. And I feel like that's kind of what I do a lot, is like I see when books are pushing things, or when there's like like obviously like stats are kind of factored into how they're placing lines in the first place. But if you can kind of be like, why are they placing like said line? Say they have a terrible like red streak, but why are they placing the said line higher than normal than they did last game when they went way under? It's like, well, oh, their matchup's this, but then it's like baiting the public towards one side. So I think I've always kind of like used the sports book as my model, because it's like it's gonna like I feel like it'd be smarter than most in general. So I feel like I just kind of watch how lines move, and I like tend to memorize them and see the line movement, and then like when I see like line movement in reverse to the public, or there's certain other things. There's a lot of things that I kind of like am looking for, is like, okay, why are they pushing this? It's like their motive behind, because their models, I mean, it's billions of dollars they're spending to beat all of these people. That's kind of how I've kind of always approached it, and it kind of worked without realizing. I think like, because all these people, they're like, oh, my model for this, my model for that. It's like, well, I mean, I feel like the best model is just the sports books, because like they're setting these lines and there's so many lines. It's like, how are they doing it? So that they have to have their own models. That's kind of how I've always gone about doing that kind of thing. So I guess it's sometimes, I guess, feel, but it's kind of like a feel of like motives behind like their models. That's kind of how most of the time I've gone about bets. Like, I guess, for example, was the like NFL. This was probably my biggest wager I've ever done up until that point, because like generally I stayed low to like $10-$20 bets. Like I was building up a bankroll. And I think I had like a deposit bonus on some social sportsbook apps. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the free bet and I'm gonna just stick it on whatever. I think it was like a primetime game. So it was like the Ravens Bills week 3. It was I think the Ravens were 1-2, the Bills were 3-0. Everyone was like, "Oh, the Bills, the Bills, the Bills." But then it was like a Ravens home game, and they needed to save their season, and they were favored. But everyone's like, "Oh, the Bills, like that's a free plus money win." And they were like plus 150 or something. I hammered the Ravens with my deposit bonus, and they won by like 30. And I was like, "Well, I mean, like you can kind of see like like the line. Well, the reason why is like the line kept moving more in favor of it's better to bet on the Bills, but why would they be giving the public more money if that's going to happen? You know what I'm saying? So I think they could see that they had value on the opposite side. So like the line movement was reversed to what the public would normally do. So that's kind of like something I look for. And it doesn't always like affect like MLB sometimes, but not always, especially with like the 3-4 game series and stuff. So, but that's kind of what I always have seemed to do.
Yeah, that's super. I feel like it's kind of a unique strategy because a lot of the people we've spoken to and we know about use like either models or just feel, but it's kind of interesting to use the like sportsbook side of things. Does that mean that since like you're kind of basing it off when the sportsbook changes the lines, that like sometimes your bets can kind of like be released like really soon to like really, I'm wording this horribly, but like right before the bet happens because the sports books will change the lines like kind of right before the game, or it doesn't really affect that?
I mean, so like for example, like so there's definitely times they get like so like there's a whole thing like CLV and that kind of thing. Like you want CLV, but like you can have CLV but still lose the bet. So like I have plenty of times where I'll have negative CLV but I'll still win the bet. Like it's just kind of like, because for like sometimes for unders a lot of times with player props, because most of what I've always done was player props, because I was I just turned 21, so I wasn't able to bet on like sports books all that much. So most of what I would do is player props, but also like I would do some like very occasionally like the game lines and stuff. So I definitely don't release it. Like there's the people who release the games the night before and that kind of thing. They have all this closing line value, but then like, oh, they still lose for this reason, whatever. But and sure, there's plenty of people who I'm sure make money doing that. But like for player props and stuff, like for example, like if a book's gonna push something, they're gonna cushion themselves. So like I usually like expect like if I am already eyeing an under, and I think that there's a possibility of it getting bumped up, I might wait a little bit, because then it's like you have a little cushion. So there's been plenty of times that as soon as I see that bump, I'd like take it, and that's when I like give it out. And then like I think it was funny, like there was probably a week straight where I gave out my bet, and I like was like, okay, like this line's probably not going to move again, but I was like kind of watching the lines and stuff, and I took the bet, and probably within like 20 minutes they bumped it whatever way I was already taking it. So like it was like closing line value, I guess. But I mean, I didn't always win all of those, but I mean, over time, like you'll get like the hooks that save you and that kind of thing. So, I'd say definitely like, I mean, anyone on my Discord would know, like I usually give it out like a couple hours before game time. So there's enough time to give it out. But at the same time, like I try to watch the lines enough towards like that kind of thing. So I'm watching the sports books sometimes. It kind of depends the bet, I guess. But, and kind of, you have to also understand like the players, because it's like, for example, like there's a couple players like I was talking about Howard, like they'll just occasionally get no minutes. So like you have to be careful about those kind of things, because the WNBA is not like the other stuff. It's like very random with some of the players where they'll just be like, all right, we're sitting.
Is it difficult to keep up finding value with that method when you're trying to give out plays like every day or multiple times a week?
I think sometimes, like at least during this time of the year, when I feel like I better understand, because like obviously NFL, like you have to kind of understand like how they're going to be playing, like because obviously like the sports books are something, but you also kind of have to understand how they're going to be played in their matchups, that kind of thing. So I mean, like I'd say, because I just am like, I'd say I'm, of any sport, I'm probably the worst at MLB, and WNBA is like there, like, but I've still made money off of it, so I'm not going to stop betting on it. But like with NFL and NBA, I feel like I just understand like how the games are going to go. Like I kind of like, I also go for like a game script. Like during the NBA playoffs when they're playing multiple times, like I try to find those like things that they're baiting you towards and find game scripts that kind of match that. So like there was a day that I think it was like Knicks Pacers or one of those crazy games that they had, and I think I gave out probably the most bets I had up until that point because I found 7 that I really liked. So a lot of what you'll see online that I kind of hate is that they'll be like, okay, we're giving you this bet. It's like a green goblin at the lowest thing that they have on Prize Picks, and then they'll be like, all right, join my Discord, and I'll give you the second half if you get whatever reactions or something like that, or join the Discord and you can see the second half. Or the second half's like what would normally be like maybe a minus 125, minus 110, something like that bet, but then they paired up with a green goblin. It's like minus 600, and it's like that's not even worth it. Just take it straight. Don't risk that on a WNBA player who could go for 0 points in a game and then just drop 20. So it's not really worth that. So I think it kind of depends on the sport. So like I'd say I struggle more in WNBA and MLB for finding that like as much value as I could for a NFL game where they have like the whole like on Sundays where they have all the games. And so I think a lot of the time with like the NBA and NFL, I lean towards game scripts as well as WNBA, but more so the others. But so I think I kind of use a combination of the two because it's like, well, okay, what are the books pushing for, as well as then they're going into how could that game script affect these players or that kind of thing. So I think it kind of depends. Like sometimes like you'll find the correlations and that kind of thing. Be like, okay, well, if this player's playing really well, then this one's probably not, or he's defending who. So I'd say during those other kind of sports, sometimes like the value is easier, but definitely WNBA and MLB is more new to me in the whole betting sense. So I'd say it's definitely harder to find value as much so as I find for the other sports, but I'm sure
Do you
most people have that opinion about the WNBAs.
do you use any tools to help you find that value, or are you like manually screening all these sports books the whole
So
thing?
I have a lot of the sports, like I have a lot of sports books, but I mean, up until right when NBA was ending, I had not ever used a tool or anything. But I think so during the WNBA season, because like one, I work a ton, and two, I have to like kind of scan these lines, and it's easier. So I bought Pick Finder, which I don't think in general like the whole matchup. So the matchups are already factored into like that kind of whole thing. But like if the matchup reflects the opposite of a public opinion, then sometimes there's value there. But so I using Pick Finder a little bit with like looking at better lines and that kind of thing, and like being like, okay, well, the sports book's having a price here and that kind of thing, and finding that because you don't always have time, and like especially with the WNBA, like there's all these lineup changes, so like they'll just take players off for like a good half an hour. Like there was one time where I think they removed Angel Reese for a game, and it was within like an hour of the game starting, and I was like, all right, guys, as soon as they put these players back up, take Cardoso over on rebounds, like because it's not going to be priced immediately correct. And then of course she went over, but I was like telling him, I was like, as soon as they put those lines back out, but you kind of like have to watch those lines, especially with the lineup changes and stuff, because with the WNBA, like there's sometimes you can find a lot more value because there's not as sharp of lines, I feel like, but just generally understanding the sport is, I feel like I'm getting better at it, but I mean, it's still the WNBA.
And then kind of shifting gears just a little bit, at what point did you really decide to like charge for the picks? Because obviously, like I'm sure everyone knows, like you do like your play of the days, which you're giving out for free. But then at what point were you like, oh, like I'm gonna charge for this? And people seem to like there's like a demand for it.
So it was actually kind of funny because it was like unexpected. I had been like, okay, the end goal is to like gain a certain number of followers, and then like eventually I'll start doing it because it's like I'm gonna like start showing my picket because it's like I feel like that's something that you don't normally see. So I was like, all right, like worst case they can slander me all they want because it's kind of like the whole like I feel like the sports betting community is very toxic where it's like you miss a play. Like I had like a crazy like so most of my bets will be like player props that are like that I give out, especially because I feel like sports books like the videos get flagged. Like if you post like this thing, like they'll flag the video, and I've been noticing it more recently than anything. So I usually give out player props, but I I think so. I started like posting, and I was like, okay, the end goal is going to eventually to be like, all right, I'm going to start posting the picket a lot more often, and like showing that like there's these results that are provable, unlike a lot of other people. So I was like, I kind of had set up the whole thing where like I set up the Discord, I set up the thing to link to it, but I had not actually advertised and told anyone about it. But people were just like kind of started going to my page more, and then I think one day someone just bought it, and I was like, I didn't even ask or like I wasn't pushing for it. I was just kind of trying to build like a following first, and then I was like, all right, well the dude paid, so I'm going to start giving him all my bets then. So I started doing that. And I was like, all right, so I'm gonna start like pushing for it now. So that's when I kind of started like uploading the picket statements more often. And in my Discord, I have like a transparency log. So it's like you can see my unit size as well as how many units I'm up and how much money I'm up for that unit size every month, and as well as like yearly updates. Like, I mean, I'll post the yearly update every couple months to show like this is where we are at, but then also like the monthly throughout the month, usually every couple weeks, that kind of thing. That way it's like they know like, okay, if they were to tell exactly what I did to a T, they're going to make this much money. So there's like, sure, people are going to do their own stupid things and still bet their own money and like do dumb parlays. And like, I try to teach them like, dude, you don't need to do that. Just like be disciplined. But at least they can be like, rest assured, it's like this guy actually makes money doing it because it's like my side hustle that I do for fun. And it's like, well, I'm charging for it because, okay, this is good information that most people can't prove they have. So as soon as I got that first one by accident, I think is when I was kind of like, all right, well, I'm not going to just have one person in here. So let's let's start, advertising and telling people more and showing off the picket, because it's like, I feel like that's my best marketing strategy, which I know you guys did a podcast with Daniel G, and I was like, I remember him like saying, he's like, it would be their best marketing tactic to show proof of profitability, because it's like most people cannot do that. And it's like he was talking about like it being a great value proposition to be able to sell someone sports bets and actually make money and prove it. And I was like, well, I literally saved that video. I sent it to my Discord. I was like if you guys are ever like, even if you can find someone who can prove they're profitable and it's not me, by all means, I support that. Like anyone who can prove they are should be allowed to sell picks. Anyone else, that you're scammers.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people who just would never post to a picket or pick track.
Well, they're all gurus and they're the best in the world.
Speaking of the gurus and all those people who say they're the best in the world, I think we had a good conversation just over the phone a couple weeks ago about some people in the industry that are kind of, have a huge following but can't prove profitability. What's your view on that and people who follow
So
the track?
I think the biggest thing that I mean, one, obviously, like most of the big ones, like you can tell, like they're making their money off of the subscriptions, and like I mean, I obviously my personal opinion is like if you can prove you're profitable by yourself, you should be allowed to sell picks. I mean, obviously, like mine for example, like I put mine, at least since I just started recently, I put mine like probably the lowest I've seen is like $10. Most people I feel like are like $20 a month, so mine's like 10, which I think I'll eventually raise that when it gets to a like when I'm in the NFL season and like we're actually like making more money than we are now, because it's lower. Like during the WNBA season, I'm a lot more conservative about it. Like I bet a lot less, maybe a little bit different unit sizings than I would in the NFL season, because the NFL season I'll probably be cutting down. Say for example, if I were to put half unit on a parlay, like I'd be doing more straights, more that kind of thing. So there would be more volume of money, but lower unit sizes per thing. So because I feel like there's more things I like or value that I find in sports I know a lot better. But yeah, I'd say like most of the ones that you'll see online is kind of annoying, because it's like there's all these like experts, they're crazy, they're the best in the world, and then it's like they're posting these things, and I feel like, I mean, the ones who are doing player props, and it's like they're pairing up a green goblin that's like the lowest line. It's not even worth taking a minus like 600 green goblin on prize picks, because it's taking your money from what would be like a 1.x to a 2.0, and it's like it's not worth that risk. Like sure, obviously there's the fixed payouts and stuff. The only time I ever really take green goblins, like because obviously like a lot of my people that in my Discord, we use daily fantasy apps, and not all of them are over 21 and they can't use these sports books. So you kind of have to like, I give a little mix of both, like usually game lines as well as player props. But there's the what is it? Shoot, I'm like losing track of what I was saying. But I feel like if you're like pairing those up and you're like giving those out, it's like you have like one 50-50 bet, and then the other one's like it's like to make your hit rate look like super crazy. So the only times I ever really will take green goblins is like if it's like a 3-point line, like for like 3-point shots, because it's like a 2.7x or something where it's like not fully, it's just barely juiced, but it's like I feel like there's a good value on just taking that instead of like the next higher. Or it's like a pitcher strikeouts, for example, like if their line is like 5, I would rather take a 4.5 and take a 2.75x than push on 5. So that's basically the only times I'll really ever like give out those goblin lines for that, because I feel like it's worth it to not push. But because like the push is like a 1.5x on your total slip if you're taking 2 things, so it's like it's not worth it in my mind to just not take the 0.25x reduction and then get the not push. But that's really the only times that I'll do that, which I mean, my hit rate's not as high as everyone else's, but I mean, not everyone can have a 90% hit rate with these these gurus. So,
And then do
but
you
yeah,
ever
I feel
feel
like,
like, sorry, no, continue.
oh, you're good. I was just saying, I feel like if they're flexing all this money, it's like they're doing like they're kind of flexing what you guys are paying them, because like I feel like that's generally most of what happens, and they're get like I think I would be a lot more profitable when it comes to actually selling picks if I lied, but I'm not gonna lie because I feel like it'll like one, it'll keep people around because they're seeing you tell the truth and actually being profitable, but two, it's like I get sit around here and be like, oh, I'm going crazy, I'm doing like, you can do all these things to like fake it, but it's like the people are gonna leave when they realize you're an idiot. Although there are plenty of brainwashed people, you know. Like when I posted a video. I mean, obviously, you know, we talked about it, but and I won't like say any names, but plenty of people came to my page and were like, "No, he's the best in the world." I'm like, dude, you're not making money, and if you are, then he's really good at gaslighting you because like if I could do that, like I'm not like it's like morally wrong, but yeah, I guess that's my opinion on usually the people that you see as like the best in the world and that kind of stuff that refuse to show anything because they can't.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of tying to what I was asking too. If you ever felt like pressured or anything to change your type of content to make it so that you could potentially like get more users, but it is obviously nice to hear, and I feel like it's kind of rare in the industry to find people who like have true morals and just like stick to like what they want to do is best for the people and know that like they are successful and will come in the long run.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's like a lot of it's also about churn. It's like you want to keep people around, but if you're
Yeah.
lying, they're gonna realize it like eventually. Like I mean, at least most of them. Like if they pay attention, they'll realize that you're lying to them. So that's why I'm like kind of my whole thing is like sure I might not go into detail about every loss I had that last night because it's like one, people's retention on TikTok is like you have 30 seconds max to post something and they will not really watch it if it's longer. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting the pick out. I'm saying, okay, we hit yesterday. This is what like the last kind of streak we've been on. Like maybe a short thing as to why it is and get out by 30 seconds because if not, you're going to have like no views because nobody wants to watch like a long explanation. And I mean, it depends the content. Like there's some content that and people give that like they'll be a lot more, you know, able to do that. But it's like if I feel like if I just don't give it out quick, it's like they'll see it when I give the update on the picket. So it doesn't really matter to me like, oh, you're slandering me for not showing every individual thing that happened yesterday. But it's like you'll see it in the long run when I show you quite literally the amount of money I made. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my whole thing. So there's definitely, I mean, I guess there's definitely pressure in the industry because like you're not going to be I don't ever assume I'll be the biggest because it's like most of the biggest people are the ones who are the best at like being a car salesman. So it's like I'm not gonna sell you something that's not true. But I think in the long run, me and people who bet and show like a third party bet tracker are going to keep people in the long run, and that's what matters because it's like they're gonna like feel like they're actually not being lied to and you're trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
If you have been profitable in the long run, have you been limited on any books before or run into any issues with how much money you could actually put down?
So because like obviously a couple years ago I started like about like $5 at a bet and now I'm up to like around 20. I don't bet like enough volume on like these daily fantasy things to be limited. Now, if I were to be like asking their support, like how much have I made off your app? Like I think Underdog, like as of the beginning of the year, it was like $1,100, which is like, which for me it was like around most of my time before that was like $10 unit sizes. Like up until May, I was at like a $10 unit size. So like over the long run, like I made a lot of money per se, like in the unit size thing of what I had. But really, the only things that I've been limited on are like the promotions and stuff. Like it's so funny. Like I see all these people. They're like, oh, I got this like super great protected pick on Prize Picks, and it's like, yeah, I have a $5 flex play that can pay me out $15 if I win three. It's like it's not even worth it to place it at that point. It's like because then it's like if you lose it, you're betting like if you lose it, it affects your bet tracker, but if you win it, it's like worse than if you just did a two leg. Like it's not even like worth the time. So like there's the people that you know have like the $25 that they can place on whatever promotions or whatever the thing is. I've been limited for a while on those. So like Prize Picks, like most I can put down is 5. The other apps, I've just kind of started getting less promotions than them. Like there's the ones that they stock give to everybody, so it's like okay, I'll give those out because everyone's gonna have them, and I'll show you guys. But a lot of them, it's like they'll be like, oh shoot, I got this great promo. It's like a like 40%, 50% profit boost. It's like I got a what is it? I got like a 15% something if I do a 3 leg play. It's like it's not even like worth my time at that point to even bet on it. Like I honestly avoid most of the promotions that some of these apps get because they push for certain things. If they're giving you like a profit boost on whatever, it's like you kind of have to look into like what that profit boost is gonna be on, because I'll take it if it's like worth it. But a lot of times they're like pushing certain things because they want you to lose. But yeah, so I've definitely been limited on like promotions and that kind of thing. So like I can't really make a lot of money off that anymore. But because I don't bet enough high volume yet, because I'm currently in college, so like I don't really have the desire to bet a ton. I've kind of built it up a little bit as to like my unit sizing, but not enough to the point where it's like they're going to be like, oh, you're putting thousands on the slip or hundreds on the slip. Like now you're limited to whatever it is. So, yeah, definitely not enough volume, but overall, like over a long period of time, the amount of like units in my perspective I've made is more than what most could say.
Yeah, totally. And
Because
then in
I feel
terms of like, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like if I were to start betting that amount of money, it's like you would if you consistently. I just don't want you don't want to jump up immediately to that kind of thing. So like, obviously, I've slowly gone up. Like for example, like, if I'd always been at whatever certain amount, it's like they'd probably ban you pretty fast. Like if you were actually like winning consistently at that amount of money. But I don't want to jeopardize like a bad week being on my college tuition.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then in terms of like future like goals for you and stuff, are you looking to turn this into kind of like a full scale business? Like hopefully just kind of like do this full time at some point, or is this kind of just like something you're doing like for fun, but also to like make a little money on the side?
Yeah, so I mean I in the first place I bet on like I bet on the side just for fun, and like it's kind of like it's like a hobby that I've kind of made more disciplined than I'd say like a lot of hobbies, because like I mean a lot of hobbies like you'll lose money doing whatever it is, and like sure, like in the beginning I definitely lost like a couple of hundred, like maybe 150 bucks, which was really bad for $5 unit sizes. But once I started like just kind of sticking to more of like a disciplined strategy and that kind of thing, like, and not being like, okay, I'm not going to throw this on. Like, I stopped live betting so long ago, that kind of thing. So I think the whole discipline thing was kind of what I got. But I did it on the side just to make money in the first place. And so currently I'm taking the LSAT this week for law school. So that's the main goal. So this would be only like a side thing for kind of fun, also to make some side money. But so is betting. Like betting for me is to make a little side money and like be fun while I watch sports. But the end goal is to do law school and that kind of thing. So definitely not like going to become a full-time job, but also like I'll still put in the time and effort to make it to where it's like fun and I still make money doing it and help others. So that's kind of the end goal, I'd say.
That's
Well,
awesome.
good luck on
Well,
the
good.
LSAT.
Yeah.
What What about y'all for your guys' channel? Because I know you guys like I think I saw you. I think on your last podcast or something you were talking about like like you guys had this idea, created the channel. Like, what's your guys' kind of like future stuff with the channel? Which I mean I honestly I think this is like probably one of the most respected channels there is out there, because it's like they're just like being real. They're like, yo, this is what these people are telling you.
Appreciate it. I mean, Nick and I both do this as a hobby. The whole reason we started is because like we fell into the trap of getting scammed along with some of our other friends. We're not pro sports bettors. We don't claim to be. We're just trying to spread the word and show other people what the industry is really like. So we both have full-time jobs on the side that are really busy. So we're just gonna, continue this as a hobby. Of course, it'd be awesome to, make some money off it on the side. We haven't made a penny yet. Keeping up, we enjoy making the content. So we're just going to keep doing what we like doing and assess opportunities as they come.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys started your channel. It's definitely a lot of people are like you're kind of like I definitely I think when you guys first made your Discord, I like tagged everyone on my Discord. I was like, everyone go join this. This is like these are people you
Appreciate that.
watch.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, no, I yeah, definitely respect it. I feel like it was we all knew it was like long overdue that someone like came onto TikTok and was like actually like doing that kind of thing. Definitely was following and paying attention, but
Hopefully people keep following along, but
yeah.
maybe we could wrap up with some rapid fire questions, like quick ones, one word answers. We have a few that people requested in our Discord. So first off, what's your favorite sport to bet on?
NFL.
And then favorite like non-obvious stat to use when you're researching what picks to take.
I'd say okay. Well, I guess it's kind of hard to. I'd say So there's the last five, but to see what the last five is in relation to their new line and see why it's placed that way. Like, you know how people will be like, they hit it 5 times in the last 5 games? It's like, why is that line placed that low? Why, like, and then I would take the under, not always, but I would look towards seeing why the line's placed that way. So I'd say last five, but the opposite of what most people would say for the last five.
And then do you prefer props or straight bets or parlay?
I prefer NFL game lines, but I'd say player props is what I do the most of because I've had the most success with that. Like I always love a good like game line for like a primetime game. Like it's always fun to sweat that out. It's like you don't have to rely on one certain player. But yeah, I'd say like fun to bet on would be the game lines, but like what I bet on the most and I've had the most success on would be player props probably.
And do you ever hedge on any of your bets, or do you always ride it through?
No, I think I feel like I usually don't cash out or hedge. I mean, I haven't like I'm not like in those I haven't ever been like one of those positions where it's like, you know, some crazy money or something. I did do like a futures parlay that I mean the first two are looking pretty good. It was like Cal Raleigh to win like home run leader back when he was like plus 180 or something, and then the Lynx to win the championship, and then I have a couple other ones. It's like a long shot. It was like a $5 free bet. I was like to win 14 grand. So you know, if that ever happened, I'd definitely hedge. The last pit would be the Thunder went to go back to back. So it's like I have like a little fun bet that I stuck out. I was like, don't, this is not official betting, but this is just something I did with a free bet. So you know, if I win 14 grand, I'd probably hedge towards the end of that one. But no, I don't usually hedge because I don't usually do like a ton of like future stuff like you see on like all these like Barstool, like, oh shoot, we're sweating this out. It's like their way to push you to get use their app or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I hope that long shot hits for you.
Oh yeah.
What's the biggest win you could remember and the worst bad beat you've ever had?
Oh, okay. I'd say okay. Biggest money win was probably the Ravens game I was talking about. That's probably the best win of recent memory was I had Dewana Bonner, some WNBA player. It was when Caitlin Clark first got injured early in the season. She had like dropped 21 points the game before, and I took her over the next game because like she had a good matchup and she was like getting more minutes. She had 4 points the entire game. I needed her like 13. And in the last 3 minutes of the game, when she should be on the bench because she's a bench player, she dropped 3 3-pointers back to back to back and won. And everyone that was like following my picks were like, what the heck just happened? Because that was like the craziest thing. And then I'd say the worst bad beat was something very similar. Is I had Fred VanVleet like under on his points in one of these games, and he was doing terrible. Like one of his worst games in the playoffs, had like nothing, and it went to garbage time, and they kept him in, and he hit like back to back 3-pointers, and like he just kept scoring. When it was garbage time, they had like backups in on the other team or something, and he was like he was just running up the score, and he like I think he made me lose by 0.5 from like multiple back-to-back 3-pointers in the last like 2 minutes, and I was like, dude, there's no way that just happens. But yeah, no, those were at least recent
Worst
memory,
feeling.
best and worst for sure. But
Right. Well, thanks so much for hopping on and having a chat with us. We really enjoyed it. It's been great getting to know you like through
very
this
good.
and when we've talked in the past, and hope we continue to cross paths in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me on.
of course. Good talking to you.
Good talking. Have a good night.
You too.